Salve! Salve to my friends, Amanda Brass. Amanda, are you not entertained? Brass and Daniel, evidently single name slave Dingman. It's all right, Dan.
Hebrew. It's Hebrew.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it. So you know, we were introduced. Well, we'll talk about the Jews in the first episode in a bit. But salve to all of our listeners out there. This is the first episode of wait, what did we decide to call it? Favored by the Pods. Favored by the Pods. I'm very pleased with myself about that name, by the way.
Big point.
Favored by the Pods. This is a podcast from the History Happy Hour gang, but we bumped into the TV series Rome and realized that all of us were freaking obsessed by it. And then all of us kind of watched the first episode and we're just like, yes! And so because it's history and because we love watching films, as we know, like we've delved into film versions of history, we just decided we're going to do a full podcast of every single episode for both seasons. And we're diving in head first. So yeah, pretty exciting. So
yep.
Brass and Dan, I want to actually, Dan, you have kind of like you've got kind of somebody behind the scenes twisting your arm about this series. Like I feel like you've got like external pressure for this to work out.
Yeah, it's Mrs. Dingman's favorite TV show.
Which I feel says a lot about both Mrs. Dingman and you.
It is. When I told her we were going to do this, she's already gone through both seasons again.
I don't blame her.
We just literally decided to do this like a week ago. She went through both seasons?
Well, not for real. But she's deep in season 1 already. Like immediately. And we watch it at dinner now and the whole thing.
So I have never seen it before. I'm going to be honest.
Which is amazing, by the way. Like, I feel like the fact that you haven't seen it before, like, it lends it for me, I think I've gone through the series maybe 2 or 3 times. Dan, I don't know how many times you've watched the full series. Twice? Yeah. So Brass, like, I love the fact that we're getting a fresh take from you. Like, it feels real. It feels like we're going to get, like, real reactions.
It is experiential for me because I'm here by myself. I can talk back to the screen freely.
And there's a lot of shouting. There is a lot of like, ah! So let's kind of dive into, let's dive into this first episode because the series creator Bruno Heller is a freaking genius, right? Like he basically decides that he's going to pull you right into the world. Oh, and Dan, we were just talking that, like, I described Rome to a friend of mine. They were looking for they were looking for a recommendation of a TV series to watch they're like, I need to binge something. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm sure you've binged all of the stuff that's out there now. Have you binged Rome? I was going to go for Deadwood, but I was just like,
another series.
But I was just like, we can't let you binge Deadwood until you've binged Rome, right? Like, I feel like Rome is the crossover, and they're just like, no, I haven't seen Rome, and I'm like, okay, Rome is like The Crown, right? Because you're watching it and you're like, okay, I kind of know what's going to happen, right? Like, we know that Caesar becomes leader, right? And we know that he's killed, and we know Antony and Cleopatra, right? We know these things. We know that it went down, but how it went down, you're just like, oh shit, right? We're all watching The Crown and we're just like, okay, we know this is Diana. We know that this is going to go really poorly real quick. Right. And we know how this ends, but we weren't aware of like just how detached Charles was from the start. Right. Or like like how like ultimately it's impossible to navigate that royalty and all of those different things. You know, in the same way, like watching the amount of detail that goes into this show is just like
right. Well, I mean, on a show level, that's why it was only 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Because of the detail, it was so expensive.
$100 million. It was the most expensive TV series ever made at the time.
They straight up
Really?
shot it in Italy. They went to
Yeah.
Italy and said, forget set design. We're going to go back home to this happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing.
And it makes you want to live in Rome because it's not just like it's not just scraped off ruins.
Right,
Like, it's
right.
all
Yeah, yeah. You're just kind of
colorful
like, I could handle parts of this
Yeah.
as long as you were rich.
That's the thing.
Modern sewage.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's true. Almost better than like some medieval towns. And by the way, like shout out to all of the medievalists out there. I remember when we did our Black Death podcast, and then I started following some medievalists. And all of them are like, no, the Middle Ages were not filthy. No, it wasn't rats. And I'm just like, okay, my guy, you whatever you need to tell yourself to continue being a medievalist.
Then why was there a plague?
Thank you. So anyway, so back to Rome, right? Like yeah, Rome kind of looks awesome, but let's stop there before we get into like the city itself. Let's kind of just talk about like so this was the most expensive series ever made. And right off the bat, like Bruno Heller drops you off at like a super important place. So I'm going to just read this like 3-sentence, ludicrous 3-sentence synopsis. I think I set off my Alexa, by the way. Like, who knows what I was shouting that I set off my Alexa. Anyway, so I'm just going to read this ludicrous synopsis, and then we're going to go through it like little by little. So the whole thing starts with the wars in Gaul coming to an end. Julius Caesar, played by...
If anyone knows how to pronounce that would be great.
I think it's Kieran?
Is it Siren or Kieran?
I'm sure someone will tell us. I'm sure we will figure it out. But yeah,
Right.
Kieran Hines, right? Who is awesome in another show called The Terror, which I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody has ever seen. He's also in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy,
Yep.
which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
The Terror is the only show that'll make you cold in July.
oh,
and for
that
you and-
show. I know
Yes.
exactly what show you're talking about now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
yeah.
But what about Game of Thrones? This guy is Game of Thrones.
Oh,
royalty.
Yes, that's right.
That's
That's right. He plays Mance Rayder, something
Yeah.
like that. One of
Yeah.
the
The leader
of the half
Wild-
the wildlings. Yeah. So anyway, that's also part of this, right? Like literally, we haven't even gotten into the third word of the first sentence of the describer, and we've already gone on a tangent about how amazing the actor is, and he plays Caesar, and this was the first thing I've ever seen him in, that I remember, and from that moment on, his name in my house has been Caesar. Like,
Right.
oh, Caesar's in this.
Yep. Same here. Oh, it's Caesar.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So as the wars in Gaul come to an end, Julius Caesar is faced with both triumph and tribulation. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about like how if Rome was just any other series about like ancient Rome, they would have started you off with the siege of Alesia. But instead, what they do is they take you to the immediate aftermath of the siege of Alesia. Now, the siege of Alesia was that your cat?
No.
Oh,
Dog.
oh, okay, all right, got it. So the siege of Alesia is like the most famous. Like, oh, look at that sweet baby.
Oh,
Dan just showed his wiener.
oh.
Sorry,
The woolly
Not a
wiener.
lie. Not a lie.
not a
It's a
lie.
long
not a
hair,
lie.
silky hair wiener.
Silky haired wiener. Dan just showed his silky hair wiener. So the Siege of Alesia is like the most famous like battle of the Gaulish conquest for Caesar. And basically, like, Caesar surrounds Vercingetorix, who's basically the main Gaul, the leader of all of the tribes of Gaul. Like, Vercingetorix, like basically is just like, we've got to unite if we're going to beat the Romans. Spoiler, they don't. And basically, like, Caesar traps him in this city on top of a mountain called Alesia, surrounds him. And then Vercingetorix surrounds Caesar. And so Caesar basically was having to fight, like, basically trench warfare on two sides. He was having to fight the siege on the city, and he was besieged himself. So it was basically like a spectacular example of like Roman ingenuity. You know, ultimately, like, Caesar wins because they're just amazing, like, fighters. And so if this were like your average, like hail Caesar, hail the conquering Romans, which everything I feel like basically, with the possible exception of the movie Caligula, literally every Roman like movie and show like kind of dwells a lot in the victories. I think I Claudius also kind of delves in the politics. But we were talking about like some of the shortcomings of I Claudius, and it's a little bit more of a difficult watch than Rome. But anyway, so Alesia. So this movie drops you boom right into the aftermath. So the first scene, Brass, do you remember the first scene? Like, anybody want to describe like yeah, go for it.
You're dropped into a final thrust against the Gauls coming down the hill, and you get to see and help me with the vocabulary of what the packs of soldiers are called. There's X in the word.
The legion. I don't know.
Legion. Yeah, the legionaries. The legions are Kevin McKidd's character Lucius can give a single command, and all the soldiers pull together. They move in unison. They have a very concise directive. They dispense with the Gauls, who are pretty wild. They're coming in melee style. You know, they're rough and ready.
Yeah.
But the precision and absolute calmness of the Roman...
the attack.
They're so focused.
Right. Yeah.
And then the one kind of a drunken blackguard soldier breaks away and gets a little too bloodlusty.
Yeah.
And just starts going and going, and his commander's like, I told you to pull back. Soldier, pull back. He gets the entire phalanx. Phalanx? Phalanx?
Yeah, I think it's fair to call it a phalanx.
Phalanx.
Oh, we're so from all different
yeah.
Okay, so the whole thing, they go and they basically rescue his ass. He was about to get killed from behind without even knowing it. They save his ass, they pull him back, and then they punish him later, but with a public whipping.
Right.
But Kevin McKidd, wow, what a
right. So okay, so we've got two like super important characters that like come in at that point, right? So it's Lucius Vorenus, who is the centurion, and Titus Pullo.
Yay!
Yeah, and what's the actor's name that's Titus Pullo?
Ray Stevenson?
Yes, who is also
in
like
Thor,
exactly, which is awesome because you see him in Thor and you're like, that's Titus Pullo.
I couldn't recognize him. I was like, oh, who is that?
Yeah.
I couldn't recognize him either.
So I when I worked at a restaurant in Hollywood way back in the day, like when I was watching this as it was coming out, he came into the restaurant and everyone was like, oh shit, Titus Pullo is in the restaurant. Yeah. Lulu's.
Is he a massive guy in real life?
Yeah,
he looks
he's a big
enormous.
guy.
Oh,
big guy.
God.
Yeah.
They thought about him as Sabretooth in X-Men.
Oh, that would make sense.
He was tapped.
Yeah.
And that'll come in handy later when we get into the Senate.
Okay, so we've got Titus Pullo. They basically use that battle to introduce us, but then immediately afterwards, like that battle is what, 5 minutes long? Right? And it's not a wide sweeping battle. Like you don't get an idea for like what a huge victory this is. But then immediately following that, it's the very famous scene, and any fans of Asterix, the comic books, know this scene because every single Asterix comic book starts with this scene, which is Vercingetorix throwing his weapons down at the feet of Caesar.
Oh.
Right? And so the centurion's just like, Caesar, here is Vercingetorix, the king of the Gauls. What say you? And they take away his weapons and they strip him. So you know that male nudity is going to be a thing in this. Brass is giving the thumbs up.
I would give 3 thumbs up, but I'm a woman. I love it.
So yeah, and they make him kiss the eagle. And because this episode's name is The Stolen Eagle, it's important, right? So they make him kiss the eagle, so you know that the eagle is a thing. And then almost immediately after that, you're like, oh shit, something important happened, but they pull you right out of it. Right? So I think that's important because I think it sets the whole thing up for that. Battles are consequential, but they're not the most important part of this series. And you're about to get more drama than you would in a battle coming up, which I think is just like, fuck yeah. And by the way, guys, because there's a lot of death in this, if you guys remember like a particularly gruesome death or a particularly awesome badass death, like we can do nominations for death of the episode. Okay. So, and we don't have a death coming up yet because actually there's not a lot of death that's happened yet, other than your average like Gauls getting which whatever, detritus. Okay, so as the wars in Gaul come to an end, Julius Caesar is faced with both triumph and tribulation. On the heels of his victory, which we just described, comes the news of his daughter's death. And I think that's super important because what they do is they introduce the bond between Caesar and Pompey. Right? So
this is a very complex and layered relationship that I assume has been decades long.
Yeah, right. So at this point in history, Pompey and Caesar are like co-consuls, right? And so they're basically like they're co-presidents. Like both of them kind of. Dan, do you have a better explanation? You kind of made a kind of historian face.
It's the best example. You're right. It's fine. It is what it is.
No, describe it though. Describe the Roman Senate.
No, okay, president.
Okay, so they're kind of co-presidents. Right. They're also best friends. Like they were kind of military folks that kind of came up through the ranks. But Pompey is, I would say, the senior of the two. Mm-hmm. Right? Like Caesar's out there like being an adventurer, but Pompey is Pompey Magnus, which I love that name. That's why I gave myself the name Alpheus Magnus on the video version of this. But anyway, Pompey Magnus, like he was like a war hero. He was part of like previous like civil wars. Like Pompey and Caesar both kind of represent a period of stability, which is kind of hilarious as we kind of move into this. But you can't have two men sharing that amount of power, and they know that. They both know that. And so Pompey and Caesar are related by blood because Pompey is married to Caesar's daughter.
Julia,
right? Again, Julius, Caesar, right?
From the
like
clan Julii.
From the clan Julia, right? Julius of the Julii.
Right.
Julius Caesar of the Julii. And Julia Julii. Sorry?
If there was any question on where they belonged.
Right, exactly, right? Like Julia, it's like, what's your name? Lamont. Oh, okay.
Lamonta of the Montes clan.
Right, yeah. Lamonta. Yeah, Lamont. And what's your sister's name? Lamonta. Oh, Lamontina. That's
Lamonetta.
That naming was anyway. But
right.
But what family you belong to like was a big deal in Rome, right? And I think that's also going to play a large part in in how we talk about the Senate and all of that stuff. But yeah, so what happens to Caesar's wife daughter is well, you want to talk us through this part, Dan?
No, brass.
Well, she dies in childbirth, which I think is a super common way for women. There just was a lack of natal care, pre and postnatal care back then, and she died in childbirth. And the way they portray it in this episode was Pompey really takes it hard. I think he genuinely loved her. It is also doubly interesting to see the way that they grieve her separately. The father, Julius Caesar, and her husband, Pompey Magnus, they grieve her very differently, but they're almost like they are not permitted to grieve her. It's like they have to talk about women passively. It's very layered. You can see there's a lot buried beneath. There's a lot of repressed emotion there surrounding.
And I'm trying to find the actor who plays Pompey, because like right off the bat, again, like the actors that they got here were just so strong. And
this is not a drill, yeah.
And that moment, you're right. Like that moment was really tender with Pompey Magnus, like with honest love towards his wife.
Kenneth Cranham,
amazing actor, and honestly, like
Scottish.
I think sorry,
he's Scottish.
There you go. A lot of Scots in this cast.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that like they do a good job of noting like how close he is to Julia, which just reinforces like the incredible bond that he and Julius Caesar must have had, because there was like real love and real pain there. So she dies. So Caesar's in Gaul. He gets the note. And by the way, guys, we're talking about the first like 10 minutes of an hour-long episode. Like at this rate, we're 22 minutes into talking about the first 10 minutes. Anyway, so they die. She dies. So he is in. Caesar is in kind of like a really bummed out place. And on top of that, you kind of get you get the eagle stolen, and I'm having trouble here. If like, did I skip like from like some political stuff? Because I feel like she dies and then they kind of introduce a few more characters. So I think between the eagle getting stolen and the death of Julia, they introduce the senators. They introduce Mark Antony, and let's talk about Mark Antony for a second.
This man,
he's rough in this.
Yeah.
I want to. Okay, so the actor. This actor was on the top of the list to be cast as Wolverine in the first X-Men movie.
No.
Yeah.
So a lot of X-Men in Rome.
Well, we can get into Marvel and DC Comics and Roman mythology and the whole getup.
James Purefoy. Sorry, he slipped me there. James Purefoy was he basically had the role, and then they said, let's at the last second, let's have a look at this old Hugh Jackman guy. He's totally unknown, but let's have a look.
So there's this guy
cheaper.
that does musicals. We should cast him.
Right. So anyway, so James Purefoy as Mark Antony is a nightmare and a delight that we will explore plenty. So I'm not too, but let's just say that Mark Antony is a little rough around the edges. He walks in and you're just like, God, dude, shut up. Like almost immediately, you're just like, shut up, Mark Antony. Yeah. Shut up. Like there are things happening, you asshole. Right? Like Caesar's dealing with the loss of his daughter, and Mark Antony's just basically ripping farts in it, like, right?
And does a really uncomfortably false tender move to say I'm sorry. He touches Julius's shoulder in a really weird way. It seemed very it seemed canned.
Well, right, and in the way of someone who's not accustomed to expressing himself gently or with any sincerity.
No.
Anyway, we'll talk about Mark Antony in just a second. They also do this whole cut to Rome and the Senate, which again just blows your mind, right? Like they've got Timon the Jew walking through Rome. So I think before we get into Timon, let's go into the Senate, right? So they have this whole moment in the Senate where you've got two parts of the Senate. One part is the pro-Caesar part, and the other part is the anti-Caesar part. And you kind of see where everybody lies, right? So they introduce three really important characters in that. They introduce Cato. And Cato is an old queen who's dressed in black. And Cato is dressed in black. Anybody know why Cato, like all the other Romans are dressed in red and white togas, and Cato is dressed in all black because he's already in mourning for the death of what Rome used to be. Right. So he's a real chill guy. You know that Cato is going to be like somebody who's like really going to be mellow about all sorts of things. And sure enough, like they introduce Cato giving like this incredible speech in the Senate, going like, Caesar, why isn't he home? Why is he still out collecting treasure? Why is he buying off all these people? And everybody's kind of just like, oh God. And I think the biggest person that's kind of like, oh my God, is Pompey Magnus, who's sitting there like with an empty seat next to him where Caesar should be. And Pompey like reiterates, Caesar is my friend, right? So you get Cato being whiny, and then you get, what's his name? Cicero.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Cicero is one of my favorite characters in this entire series. And so you get your first, like, God, Cato's going to be a pain in the ass. And then Cicero rolls in and he's like, I'm going to play the middle of the road, but not really play the middle of the road. Right? So Cicero comes around, and a few things about the historic character of Cicero, the like historic person of Cicero, one of the greatest orators. He and Cato are great orators in Rome. Cicero was born, I think, a pleb, and rose to the status of a patrician and a senator, which is like a self-made man, which is both like super unique, but also like he's never going to be from a well-to-do family. So Cicero's always kind of kept like at an arm's length, and even then he's considered like an important voice in the Senate. So you know that Cicero struggled to be where he is, and has to he knows he's got to play it perfect every single time. So Cicero delivers this speech and says, I also love Julius Caesar, but I'm also worried about Julius Caesar and what's he up to, right? So literally playing it down the middle, which we'll find is Cicero. But the actor is delightfully, like, I don't want to say smarmy, but just delightfully cautious, I want to say. Like, he's a smart man, but he knows that he's not somewhere he's welcome.
He's a politician. My friends on the other side.
Yes, my friends on the other side.
Right, and you can hear like the vitriol in it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, for sure. Cicero is an awesome political character. So anyway, let's cut away from that because there's sex. And there's sex to be had, and I think like this episode like really like tells you like sex is not just an act of like procreation or love or lust. It's also a tool. And sure enough, like you jump into it. So who are the two Dan, who are the two characters that we see humping right away?
It offends my Anglo-Saxon sensibilities.
You're Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxons were running around naked and painting themselves blue.
For warfare.
You don't think that they were having casual sex? Didn't we agree that Stonehenge was basically like a UNC theater party?
So the first one is Atia, right?
Yeah, Atia, right? Yeah,
I can't even keep them straight. There's so many.
yeah,
of them.
Atia and Timon.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Right.
All right. So who's Atia?
She's the niece of Caesar.
Correct. So she's one of
keeping
the
this
Julii.
all together is difficult.
That's why I have a whiteboard, because I literally wasn't sure if we're going to need to like jot notes, because it is very branched out.
Yeah. But Atia is like Caesar's niece, and here she is like part of Team Caesar, part of the Julii, in Rome, where Pompey Magnus is ruling, right? So you want to be on Team Pompey and on Team Caesar, because being on Team Caesar is a little bit fraught right now because Caesar isn't in town.
Hedge your bets.
Hasn't been in town for 8 years. Julius
Yes, he'd been gone for 8 years. Yeah.
And a little more.
Yeah. So at this point in time, he's gone for 7.5. They mention it like several times, like 7.5.
It's 52 BC when they open this.
Yeah. So 7.5 years, 52 BC. So she is having sex with Timon the Jew, and Timon is very, very obviously not like Roman nobility, right? Like he looks dumpy, right? Like he's like, they introduced that character as walking through Rome with livestock, right?
Right.
And she starts doing, they're having sex, they cut, she stops having sex with him, and immediately she asks him for something, right? And she says, yeah, right.
2 stallions came to Rome today. I was like,
2 stallions. Oh,
girl. What a segue into saying I want that white horse you rolled in with.
Yeah. So I mean, and Timon is it, like, for him to be having sex with Julius Caesar's niece is a big deal, right? He's a foreigner. He's making money, but you know, like his place in Rome isn't like an upscale thing. So for Atia to favor him with her sex, and by the way, this actress Polly, sorry,
Walker?
I think.
No.
Oh, she's
it is.
so.
Polly Walker.
Yeah, Polly Walker. So she is such a good actress.
She is
so good.
At her own detriment, because I absolutely loathe her character.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I am literally fantasizing about her death from like 5 minutes into this show. I need her gone.
That's so funny. Well, so anyway, so she sexes up Timon, and she delivers 2 amazing lines, right? So 2 stallions came to Rome today, which means she's going to ask him for the horse, and she says, "Don't take it," when he's just like, "Really? This was just about the horse?" And she's like, "No, don't take it personally. I've always found something perversely erotic about goaty little men." She calls him a goat.
What the? I mean, but honestly, she can't. She's such an aristocrat. She's so lofty up in herself. She can't.
Oh yeah, yeah. She talks about people who feed their slaves too much.
Right.
Right. She does casual like.
I hate her so bad.
He's such a. He feeds his slaves too much. That's why they're not behaving right. Like
and the crying over breaking up a marriage. She's like, "Oh, look at all the fuss."
Right. So literally, she jumps from sexing for a horse to telling her daughter that she needs to divorce her loving husband because she's going to marry her off to Pompey Magnus, because that bond still needs to exist between the 2 families. And like Pompey's wife, her like relative, hasn't been dead for more than, I mean, in this show, like 15 minutes, but like like the bed is still warm, right? And she's already thinking like, okay, I'm going to marry my daughter off to this so that we can consolidate this, so I'll be safe. So all of, right, like there are political machinations. Atia's political machinations are like next level. Like you're looking at these senators and they're kind of sliding off and talking to each other. Atia is like playing 3D chess.
She's Chris Jennering.
Yeah, like
she's a Chris Jenner. She is, or a Lindsay
Atia
Lohan.
is the Chris Jenner of ancient Rome. Absolutely.
Am I wrong?
No.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? All right. So let's go back to our guide, which is this useless thing. See, on the heels of this victory comes news of his daughter's death. Awarded with the adulation of the people, he also garners the enmity of politicians in Rome, including Pompey Magnus, Kenneth Cranham. In Rome, Pompey must balance the honor and politics as he is urged to betray his former friend, right? So we know then that people are urging Pompey already to look, dude, we can't keep this going, right? Like you can't keep pretending like this is nothing. It's a big deal, and it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. Pompey knows that the friendship with Caesar is ending, and to compound to that issue, his wife / Caesar's daughter just died. So bad news. All right. So meanwhile, Caesar's niece Atia of the Julii tries to steer the family on the dangerous path between the growing divisions of power. Okay. So, all of that is happening. Add to that the side crew characters of Lucius Vorenus and Titus Pullo, right?
Right.
So Lucius Vorenus and Titus Pullo are part of like this victory, but unfortunately, Titus Pullo got drunk and misbehaved, and so now he's getting whipped. And what you see here is Titus Pullo being a dick, and Lucius Vorenus being a different kind of dick.
Yeah, the drunken one, and then the rigid, right?
Yeah, so I think they represent sort of the black and white, like old school view of Rome. That if you think of it as just the Roman legions, just like good guys versus bad guys, you're gonna have a difficult time, right? And so Lucius Vorenus is very black. Go ahead.
Well, they're supposed to kind of represent Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Dear, my gosh, I'm so glad you said
that.
Yeah,
lean into that.
Yeah, well, they're the rigid one and the kind of more loose one, but they're both jerks, and they get sent out on missions that could ultimately lead to their beheading.
That's right. Yeah,
suicide
dangerous missions, dangerous no-win missions. Right.
So they kind of represent that style of character, which is not just Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, right? It's been through all of history.
Yeah, and they're good vehicles for that too, because they're they're mostly made up characters, and they will stumble through Hamlet for us, basically.
Right.
Which is awesome. Like, and you get to know them a little bit, right? Like Vorenus.
Well, he's got a family to provide for. He is straight-laced. He's got people relying on him. And he cares about his name and carrying forth honor, with his...
Well, it's kind of like those two ideas of joining the military. One, because you want to be a soldier, and the other because you have nothing else to do.
You want to see the world? Titus Pullo is like, I just want to lay the entire world.
Yeah, right. He basically says, okay, it's about food and sex, right? So those are like the two things that compel him. And Lucius Vorenus is just like, well, but it's also about my wife Niobe, who I've been married to for a long time, and I've been apart from her for 7 years, right? 7.5 years they've been apart, and he's been true to her, whereas like there's nervous woodland creatures around them when they're talking because Titus Pullo is such a sex beast that like everyone's like, no one is safe around Titus Pullo. And so these two guys, so Caesar's eagle gets stolen. And I think this is a great... Oh, sorry, were you going to say something, Brassy?
I can't wait to talk about this because I'm so confused about who the hell the blue Spaniards are.
Yeah, who cares?
Oh, well,
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm going to venture a guess on this. The blue Spaniards, right? So there were Celtic people that lived in Spain, and the Celts loved getting naked and putting blue paint on themselves.
These are my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We turned into Bronco fans later in life.
So yeah, like there's isn't even northern Spain, some of their dialects are even Celtic, even though it's Spanish or right.
I think that's a totally good guess, Dan. And I think but so definitely a blue painted person. Oh God, I just remembered like how they figure out where to find them. So yeah, a blue painted person comes in and steals Caesar's eagle. Super important things. It shows how important symbolism is in Rome, right? Like, ooh, that's a bad omen. The eagle was stolen, bad omen, right? So that's why it's important to actually like pay like respect to that. So Mark Antony, in his cool, collected way, asks Lucius Vorenus, what would you do? How would you go about getting the eagle? You remember what he does?
He says that he would...
Yeah, go for it.
No, go.
He says that he thinks for maybe 3 seconds, and then he goes, I would take hostages from each tribe, torture them, and then whoever gave it up first, send two or three men silently in the night, quiet as it's kept, to go get it back.
Yeah. Except he doesn't say torture them; he says crucify them.
Oh, crucify! Sorry.
Yeah. So cut to the next. Like Antony's like, oh, that's a good idea. And in that Antony sort of way, just like, yeah, okay. Which again, like highlights just the brutality of Rome, right? Like casual sex, casual brutality.
Yeah.
Right? Like our taste for like savagery is nothing compared to like so they
But I think what's interesting is how much Rome still stays within our lives. Like, okay, so we have a game called Capture the Flag, right? We can talk about the Civil War flags and military flags and how you always keep the flag, which is the eagle. And then when you do something wrong and you get caught, you say, well, they're going to crucify you.
Yep.
Right? Like we still use those terms.
We throw those terms around a lot. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So they literally crucify these guys, and like they're not even shy. So what's amazing about that crucifixion scene is, I don't know if you guys remember, but the soldiers that are like, crucifixion's a pain in the ass, right? Like you got to cut these crosses out and you got to hammer the guy in. And I'm not talking about for the guy getting crucified. I'm talking about the guy doing the crucifying.
You know, it's a lot of work. And then you have to take this like 200-pound cross, put it in the ground with like a 180-pound person on it.
Right.
You're going to break a sweat. Let's just slit their throat.
You also have to get that nail right between their two arm
bones.
Right.
It's not in the hands. It's in the wrist.
That would rip right away.
Right.
You got to put it down there. And the guy's screaming in pain the whole time. I mean, it's just... It's
a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They illustrate that it's a pain in the ass to crucify, because we all assume it's bad to get crucified, but they're showing like the legionary going like, oh God, and just wrestling to get up the cross.
You can't just leave. You have to sit there with them while they go through the whole process, which takes hours.
So the guy who's getting crucified like fesses up like real quick.
Right.
and he goes, he
properly
tells
motivated.
Lucius, sorry?
He properly is motivated to speak immediately.
Yeah, and he does, right? He's just like, okay, I'll tell you, it was the Blue Spaniard, and then like Lucius Vorenus tells the guy, okay, take him down, and the guy's just like, I just put him up. I just finished crucifying this guy.
It's like what
I'm not taking him down.
every PA in the world knows that feeling.
They should unionize. They should unionize. When somebody's up, 4-hour minimum.
Yeah, so immediately they tell him, like, okay, it's the Blue Spaniard, which, again, just like, whoa, that was, number one, it also shows, like, Lucius Vorenus knows what he's talking about. So all of this goes down, and they set off to find the Blue Spaniard that stole the thing. In the meantime, Atia sends Octavian,
who seems to be like, what, 14?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a kid.
He's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a very smart young man, though.
Extremely
Right.
razor sharp. Unfortunately,
Well, Octavian is the first emperor. It's not Julius Caesar that we think a lot. Octavian's the one that genius kid.
Yeah. And they start hinting at like how, like, two things. Number one, he is a pretty mirthless kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
even though he has one of the most comfortable lives possible on Earth, he doesn't seem to be enjoying his life.
Right. But he's that kid where you talk to and you're like, okay, nice talking to you. I'll see you later. Right?
You're kind of a little too grown up for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on to the.
yeah, you're just like, hey, how's it? What you got there, sport? Actually,
So
I have the means to your demise. Okay.
So
I'm just gonna
what's your favorite subject in school?
Yeah.
Math. Okay.
It's like, bless you, but we have no common ground here.
Yeah.
Just go.
So basically, Atia sends him off. Dan, why don't you describe like Octavian's journey and just kind of how it all unfolds?
Well, she sends him off with the stallion, the second stallion, perhaps the first stallion, and off to his uncle, his great uncle, and things go really wrong on that, right? Like things get doesn't he get captured or robbed?
He gets captured. Right. Yeah.
Right. So
he's captured with this amazing horse.
Right.
And that's where like these, so like our two main, like some of our main characters meet, right? So you've got Octavian, you've got Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus, and basically what we find is that the guys that captured Octavian are the same guys, the Blue Spaniards, who stole the eagle. And so you've got the horse, which, one of the things we forgot to mention about the horse is that Pompey Magnus wanted the horse.
Right.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, Pompey Magnus wanted the horse, and when Atia took the horse and Pompey couldn't get it, he's like, damn it, does he have to have everything, including my horse?
All right.
Don't white stallions mean something in Rome, right? In ancient Greece. I know
sure.
there's the white bull with Zeus and all of that.
Yes.
But there's something with a white horse. If I remember my mythology.
Well, so Pompey wanted the horse, but here's a confluence of all of these things in a seemingly unrelated thing.
Right.
Pompey's horse / Atia's horse / Octavian, the future Caesar that we know now, right? Mm-hmm. And Titus Pullo and Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus and the eagle. And so Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus just kind of walk in.
They literally stumble into their destiny there.
Right. Well, I was just thinking honestly about Octavian, that character in the show. So he's supposed to deliver the white horse to his uncle. He's like usually always dressed in white.
Yes.
He's the white stallion.
So, according to the internet, Roman tradition says that white horses are meant to carry patron saints or world saviors into the end times. It's associated with the sun chariot.
Oh, I was thinking Poseidon, right? Doesn't he have white horses? Those are the waves.
Right.
Yeah.
The white horses, yeah.
Right.
They
So yeah, but I think but Helios, right? The god that escorts the sun
in a chariot.
In a chariot. And
pulled by horses.
I mean, Sun King is something that,
right,
will follow us through history.
If we knew more about Roman mythology, we could go on for probably 5.5 hours, because I'm sure the people that wrote it went way down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and I've been going down the mythology rabbit hole myself, so maybe I'm probably not, as my career, but definitely be able to sprinkle some stuff in from time to time. All right, so they just kind of walk into this, and that's when you realize that Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus get shit done, right?
Yeah.
So, but before we get into that, because okay, so they go in and they basically save Octavian, save the eagle, right?
They're lethal weapon.
What'd you
right?
say?
Like, they're lethal weapon. That's who they are. They're
Yes.
they're Mel Gibson and Danny Glover to just get shit done.
But tend to bicker with each other. But that that balance keeps it
right. It's that
forward,
old
Yeah.
character.
Lucius Vorenus is too old for this shit.
He's too old for this
Right,
pack.
exactly.
Yeah, too old for this cack. Yeah. That's So okay, but cut, because while all this is happening, Julius Caesar gets a visitor in the camp, which is one of my favorite characters, is Brutus.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and here we see Brutus. Like, they do a really good job of painting Brutus as what will be Brutus, Like you're just like, oh, this fucking guy. We know what Brutus does in the end, right? So how did Brutus get there? Like, and they start setting us up for those things, right? So a few things about Brutus is that it is well known that Julius Caesar and Brutus's mom Servilia are lovers. Right. So that is that's a historical, well-established thing. There's also rumors that Brutus is actually Caesar's son.
Like Mia Farrow and Frank Sinatra.
Exactly. So there's right. Shout out to Ronan, which I think is a far better story than anything else. Brass, did you not know that rumor?
Oh, I live for this rumor. And I don't know why.
Look at him. That's a Sinatra.
Look at him. But we could just simply do the DNA test and have this done in a day. No, but they don't. And I don't know who they're trying to protect at this point.
I think they totally... I really don't know why they don't...
We should write two seasons of a TV show about it.
Okay. So anyway, so back to Brutus.
Hoboken.
Focus. Not Ronan Farrow. Not Frank Sinatra. Brutus and Caesar.
The man who plays Brutus is my favorite actor in episode 1.
He's brilliant.
He is.
And he looks so old. Whoever does the makeup for the crown.
Yes. Tobias Menzies, by the way, everybody, is the actor.
Love you.
Because I said to Sarah, he's aged so much. And she showed me a recent picture of him.
He's fit as a fiddle.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah. Tobias Menzies, really great actor, and he does really good justice to sort of the patrician, the gentility of Brutus, right? So Brutus's family, Brutus as a Roman, comes from if not one of the oldest families in Rome. And as a political family, they are basically revered. The ancestry of Brutus's family is impeccable, and so Brutus is just by default one of the most important people in Rome. And so you see this genuine affection between Caesar and Brutus, and it's almost touching. You see the fondness that Caesar has for Brutus, and you see the fondness that Brutus has for Caesar. And Antony comes in and he's like, "Ah!" And Brutus is just like, this fucking guy. And Caesar kind of turns around and says, yes, he does have a vulgarian streak, which I think is that's the understatement of basically a first episode of understatements, because we know everything's going to go to shit. But yeah, so and basically Brutus comes in and just like to get some intel from Caesar. What's up? How you doing? How you feeling? What's going on? Right? And Caesar, very smartly, basically feeds Brutus, things aren't great. Right? My eagle was stolen. My guys are on the verge of a mutiny. Right? Which we learn is actually like a ruse, right? And Octavian calls it like that, right? Okay, so let's jump back to the scene where Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus walk into the things, right? So they walk in and basically murder what? 8 people?
Yeah, and quick.
Yeah.
And who?
They do it so quickly.
Yeah.
Over in moments.
Yeah. And it illustrates just not only that they're badasses, but the prowess of the 13th Legion.
Efficacy, like in their bones.
Which is what you were talking about at the beginning, right? Like that first battle scene, they're showing efficacy at killing and just like this machinery.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they walk in and they're just and Octavian's being Octavian, right? Which is just like,
he's a teenager, kind of. Also, just everything sucks.
Yeah. He is kind of above it all, but he can back it up.
right.
Like he's not just being a snotty teenager.
Yeah,
who goes back.
But he's snotty teenagers at pretty hardcore as he's getting rescued, right? He's like,
Yeah.
I am Octavian of the Julii. Unhand me. Release me from my bonds. And Titus Pullo is like, say please. Right? Like, he's like, fuck this kid. And Titus Pullo says, say please, as he's breaking the teeth out of the skull of this guy who has golden teeth. Like Titus Pullo's like, shut up. And breaking the teeth so that he can collect the gold off of the teeth of this guy.
Yeah.
Well, you got to make money.
Right. So Octavian is just like, okay, I'm Octavian, you know, and Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus are just like, okay, well, he seems to be legit. And that's when Octavian like lays on like some politics on them. Do you guys remember like the politics?
Is this where he says Uncle Julius wouldn't pull a hair for his eagle? It's actually in his favor that it went stolen. It was stolen. Right?
Exactly. So
Because
he basically
he can't make a move against Pompey outright. This is a great excuse for him to start fighting.
Right. Exactly. So literally, like, they're just like, okay, like basically Octavian shows off his uncle's game, which is like literally like he's got to force Pompey to make the first move. So he's making himself seem weaker than he really is so that Pompey will try to take advantage of the situation.
He calls it a deceit of some kind. I forget how he calls it. Like a deceit of weakness or something. He calls it that.
It's genius, right? And everyone's just and both Titus Pullo and Lucius Vorenus are like, okay, kid, whatever. We believe who you are. But then they open the cabin of like the wagon, and there's the guy holding the lost eagle. And he has what I will nominate as the death of the episode.
Okay.
It's basically between this guy or the bull that Atia sacrifices.
All right. I was going to go with the bull. Jesus. God.
All right. So anyway, so we'll get into the bull in just a second, but basically, the guy gets discovered. He tries to run off with the eagle, and they watch this kind of like heavy-set guy, bald,
Right.
heavy-set bald guy.
And how much does that eagle weigh? I'm sure like 25, maybe.
I was going to go
50
40.
pounds.
I was going to go 40.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's all gold.
It's solid gold, right? Like,
Right.
that's a 40, 50-pound eagle.
Yeah.
So this guy tries to run off with it, and these guys just killed like 8 people. And Lucius Vorenus pulls like the best. Like, he grabs a javelin and basically shish kebabs the guy at like 100 paces, would you say?
It's out there. It's like that video of that judge at the javelin that gets it in the chest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. So the guy just like gets skewered, literally, and they recover the eagle. Okay, cut back to Rome real quick. A few things happen between that and the return of the eagle. Atia tries to marry off Octavia to Pompey. Mm-hmm. They reveal that Pompey instead gets married to, let me pull my notes.
The lady he was introduced to earlier in the
Scipio's daughter. So that is a snub of the Julii, right? So Atia is pissed. In between all of that, Atia sacrifices a bull to Caesar, like to please the gods.
A white bull.
It was black.
A white bull.
It was black.
Oh, is it black bull?
It's black. If you have another look at it, it's
black. Whatever the case, she's standing naked underneath a bull as they slit its throat and the blood drains down on her.
Right.
Amazing scene. But anyway, so Atia says Atia's pissed at Pompey, which you don't want to get on Atia's bad side. Octavia, who was forced to divorce her husband, also who she loved. Now she's divorced and is not going to get married anytime soon because Pompey rejected her. So bear
in mind, Atia basically pimped her daughter out. Like they had sex.
Yeah, they did.
Right.
They did.
Right.
That's right. During a dinner scene, Atia tells Pompey, if you want to have sex with her right now, go for it. And Pompey does. And then ends up marrying this other lady. So poor Octavia had to have sex with crusty old Pompey.
Bless him, but yeah, that's gross. And
so Octavia's already being like thrown around as a pawn, as a tool, like so hard. It's really sad. So like things in Rome are suddenly much more tense than they were. And we realize that it's at Caesar's insistence. Like that Caesar has actually kind of figured this out already. And he's created a scenario where Pompey is going to betray him. So Caesar's one step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Pompey falls right into it. And I think Caesar at one point tells Antony, tells Octavian and Antony, because they bring Octavian back into the camp. And Caesar's like, what the fuck are you doing here? So at one point, Caesar tells Octavian and Antony he has the tactics of a trout or something like that, where it's just like Pompey's a political like lightweight. So Mark Antony's like, yes, let's do this, and Octavian's like, so the war's already begun, and Caesar's like, yeah, it's go time. So we realize that they've been preparing for this, that this is how Caesar is going to return to Rome. And the final scene is basically he sends Pompey back a message, right? So what's the message?
That he's going to summon his troops nearby.
Yeah, but what the big reveal is that he sends back the head of the guy they skewered.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Right.
He had did he not have a tattoo around here?
Yeah. Do you remember what the tattoo was?
I don't know.
the tattoo was the tattoo that Pompey Magnus puts on all his slaves.
Gross.
Basically property of Pompey Magnus.
Jesus Christ.
Right.
So Caesar knew that Pompey was the one that sent a slave and the blue Spaniard, the elusive blue Spaniard, to steal the thing. So he's basically sending us a message to Caesar. I'm not as weak as you thought. I know what you're up to, and I'm coming.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna summer our troops nearby.
In Ravenna.
I'll see you in a few months. Or
That's
something
right.
like that. Yeah.
So that's where this first episode ends, and it's just like, whoa! Like they've raised the stakes, introduced tons of characters, and introduced us into this world, and you're just like, oh my god, here we go. And we know what happens. We know that Caesar does march into Rome and does try to assume power and gets killed in the Senate. And we know that Mark Antony eventually meets Cleopatra. And we know that Pompey and Caesar fight. And we know all of these things from history, but we don't know how it happens, and we're going to get to know it, and it's freaking exciting and awesome. And I can't wait to do it with you guys every freaking weekend.
Yeah, it'll be good. It's an amazing show, right? Like, the only thing, I know a lot of people like Game of Thrones, but Rome and Deadwood are the best shows HBO has ever done.
Agreed.
I'm gonna have to interrupt that and say that I think The Wire.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Deadwood-
The Wire.
Yes. You're right. You're right.
I'm not gonna be one of those people, but I
No,
love
you're-
Deadwood, and I extremely heavily love Wire. But now Rome is pushing in here. We're having a throuple
right.
now. I'm very.
I
into
think we
Rome.
can agree on the top three.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
ratings is all a personal matter.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we missed from this episode?
No, but I'm going to share a personal story about Rome and the cast.
All right.
So the guy that plays Cato.
Yeah.
I saw him play the father in London in Endgame. He was the guy that came out of the trash can. It was fantastic.
Okay.
The guy that played Cato. He was great.
All right.
I didn't recognize him.
What's
Sarah
Endgame?
was doing this. Samuel Beckett's Endgame, you know, the real famous play. And my wife goes, "That's Cato."
That's hilarious.
And we waited to get his autograph.
Your wife is going to be on this podcast frequently.
Yeah.
So have her listen,
She's-
and she can come in and give us notes at the top of each episode.
Yeah, she will. She's not at home right
Okay.
now, but
All
when
right.
she gets back, she's been watching Troy all
Oh, nice.
weekend and Alexander, all of
Nice.
this Greek stuff. She's Greek and Roman stuff. That's her bag.
All right. Well, salve, friends, and we will see each other next weekend with episode 2.
Yay.
All right, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.